Every morning, millions of older Americans take their vitamins. Some do it with breakfast. Others line them up neatly in a pill box, Monday through Sunday, convinced they're doing the right thing for their heart, their bones, and their energy. It's a habit built on trust. Trust in labels, trust in advice from years past, trust that more is better when it comes to health. But what if I told you that 2 of those vitamin zones found in almost every multivitamin on the pharmacy shelf could actually be hurting your knees? Yes, you heard that right. I'm Dr. Sarah Bennett. I've spent more than 2 decades walking alongside people, just like you men and women in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, trying to stay active, mobile, independent. And I've seen a pattern that's deeply troubling. I'm talking about patients who eat well, stay active, take their vitamins every day, and yet their knee pain keeps getting worse. Just last week, I had a gentleman named George, 72 years old, come into my office. He used to be able to walk his dog twice a day. Now he struggles to stand up from the couch. His x-rays didn't show much damage. His labs looked fine. But then we sat down and reviewed his supplements. That's when I realized George wasn't hurting because of age. He was hurting because of what he thought was helping him. So let me ask you, why is your knee pain getting worse after 60? Is it just wear and tear, or could it be something more subtle, something you're putting into your body every single day with the best of intentions? Today, I'm going to walk you through 2 very common vitamins that could be making your joint pain worse, not better. These aren't exotic, rare compounds. They're widely promoted, easily available, and often taken without a second thought. And the good news is, once you understand how they affect your knees, you'll be able to make simple changes to protect your joints, and possibly even reverse some of the pain you've been living with. So if you've been wondering why your knees ache more than they used to, if the stairs have become harder, or you've had to give up your daily walks, stay with me. This could be the piece of the puzzle you've been missing. Is it really just aging? Why your knees hurt after 60? Now, the first thing most people assume when their knees start aching after 60 is, well, I'm just getting old. And that makes sense because we've all been told that aging comes with wear and tear, that your joints will naturally give out, and there's not much you can do about it. But let me stop you right there. That's not the whole story. Yes, as we age, our joints do go through some changes. The cartilage, the smooth, rubbery tissue that cushions your joints, begins to thin. The fluid that keeps your knees moving smoothly, called synovial fluid, starts to dry up. There's also low-grade inflammation that creeps in over the years, slowly irritating the joint, even when there's no injury. But here's something I want you to hear clearly. Not everyone over 60 has knee pain, not everyone loses mobility, and not everyone has to live with that stiff, aching feeling every time they stand up from a chair. The truth is, age may open the door, but something else often walks in and makes things worse. Let me tell you about a patient of mine. Her name is Ellen. She's 69 years old. Every morning, she would walk 3 miles around her neighborhood with her best friend, rain or shine, and she was proud of that. Her energy was strong, her balance was good, and her knees, not a single complaint. Then, at her annual checkup, her doctor suggested she start increasing her B vitamins, specifically B6 and B3. Nothing unusual. It was meant to support her nervous system and energy levels. So Ellen, being careful and proactive about her health, followed through. She bought a high-dose B complex at her local pharmacy and began taking it every day. But here's what happened. Within just a few weeks, her knees began to feel different. A little stiffer in the morning, a little soreness after her walks. She chalked it up to overuse. Maybe she needed new sneakers. But by the 3rd month, Ellen could barely finish 1 mile without sharp pain under both kneecaps. The swelling, the tenderness, it wasn't just age catching up with her. She came into my office frustrated, worried, and thinking her walking days were over. After looking through her routine and reviewing her labs, we traced it back to the supplements. It wasn't because she was old. It was because something in her daily routine had changed and her knees were trying to tell her. Now, this doesn't mean vitamins are bad, but it does mean that some vitamins, especially in high or prolonged doses, can have unintended effects on the joints. And that brings us to the heart of today's video. If you've been doing everything right, eating well, staying active, even taking your vitamins and yet your knee pain is getting worse, you're not alone, and you're not imagining it. So here's the real question. What exactly are these vitamins doing inside your body? And how can something designed to help actually be hurting your knees? We're about to get into the first one, niacin, or vitamin B3. And I think you'll be surprised at how something so common, so well-meaning, can quietly become part of the problem. Vitamin number 1, niacin, vitamin B3, the hidden risk behind heart-healthy supplements. Let's talk about the first vitamin that could be making your knee pain worse, niacin, also known as vitamin B3. Now, I want to be very clear from the start. Niacin is not the villain. In fact, when used properly, it plays an important role in the body. It helps your cells convert food into energy. It supports healthy brain function. And for years, doctors have prescribed high doses of niacin to help lower cholesterol and reduce the risk of heart disease. So you might be wondering if it's so beneficial. Why are we talking about it in a video about joint pain? Well, that's the paradox. Because while niacin can support cardiovascular health, when taken in high doses or over long periods, especially in supplement format, can also lead to inflammation in the joints. And that's where things start to get tricky. You see, after age 60, our bodies become more sensitive. The systems that used to keep everything in balance, your liver, your kidneys, your circulation, start to slow down just a bit. This means that what might have been harmless in your 40s or 50s can suddenly begin to pile up and cause trouble. Niacin, when taken in large amounts, can increase a compound in your blood called uric acid. Now, if that name rings a bell, it's because uric acid is the same culprit behind gout. Gout is a painful form of arthritis caused by crystals that build up in the joints, especially the toes and knees. These tiny crystals are like little needles inside your joints, and they trigger inflammation, swelling, and sudden sharp pain. So, when someone over 60 begins taking niacin often in doses of 500, 1,000, even 1,500 milligrams a day, they're not just getting a heart booster. They might also be quietly increasing their risk of joint pain, especially in areas that are already sensitive due to age-related changes. And here's the part that really concerns me. Most over-the-counter supplements don't warn people about this risk. Niacin is often labeled as a natural support for energy or cholesterol health. It's included in multivitamins, B-complex formulas, and sometimes even in drink powders or protein blends, which means people may be taking it from multiple sources without even realizing how much they're getting. Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, I had a patient named Carl. He was 66, retired, and determined to stay healthy for his grandkids. He didn't have major health problems, but his cholesterol was a little high. So, he started taking a niacin supplement every night, just one pill, 1,000 milligrams. He read about it online, thought it sounded natural, and wanted to avoid prescription medication. At first, things seemed fine. But about 2 months later, Carl started feeling stiffness in his knees, especially in the mornings. He brushed it off as sleeping funny. Then the stiffness turned into soreness. And soon, he couldn't make it up the stairs without holding onto the railing. He told me, "Doc, I feel like my knees aged 10 years overnight." We did some tests. X-rays showed minor wear but nothing out of the ordinary for his age. But when I reviewed his supplement list, the niacin jumped out. His uric acid levels were high. He wasn't drinking much alcohol. He wasn't eating excessive red meat. The most likely cause? That heart-healthy pill he took every night. We stopped the supplement immediately. Within weeks, the swelling started to go down. The pain began to ease. And about a month later, Carl called me excited because he had walked 2 miles around the park with no pain. He didn't need a joint replacement. He didn't need steroids. He just needed to stop overwhelming his body with something it didn't need in such high doses. Now, you might be thinking, but I only take a little niacin. Mine says 100 milligrams. That should be safe, right? And for most people, yes, smaller amounts especially, when they come from food aren't a concern. You can get niacin naturally from poultry, fish, peanuts, and fortified grains. These sources are gentle, balanced, and don't spike your system. The real problem comes when we isolate one nutrient, concentrate it into a pill, and take it in doses 10, 20, even 50 times what your body actually needs. Another sign to watch for aside from joint pain is what's known as a niacin flush. That's when your face suddenly gets red, warm, or even itchy after taking the vitamin. It's a common side effect, and it tells you your body is reacting, but not everyone gets the flush. Some people have no symptoms until their knees or toes start screaming. For others, the first sign isn't pain, it's just a little swelling. The knee feels tight. Your favorite shoes start to feel snug around the ankles. Or maybe you notice you're getting up more at night to pee because your body is trying to flush out the excess. All these little hints matter. So what can you do? If you're over 60 and taking a supplement with niacin, especially if it's over 250 milligrams per day, it's worth taking a closer look. Talk to your doctor. Ask for a basic blood test to check uric acid. And most importantly, don't assume that more is better. There's a lot of marketing in the supplement world. You'll hear phrases like, supports heart health, boosts energy, natural solution. And while these can be true in context, they don't tell the whole story. Because what's good for your heart isn't always good for your knees. And at this stage of life, we need both. We need our hearts strong and our legs steady. We need to climb stairs, carry groceries, walk on the beach with our grandchildren, and not wince every time we sit down. That's why understanding the full impact of these vitamins matters. Niacin has its place. But if your knees have been talking to you lately, if they've been aching more, swelling more, or waking you up at night, it might be time to check whether something in your cabinet is doing more harm than good. Coming up next, I'll show you another vitamin known that sounds even more innocent, that could be quietly thinning your bones and putting extra pressure on your knees. Stay with me. This one surprises almost everyone. Vitamin number 2, vitamin A, synthetic retinol. When too much of a good thing turns against your joints. Let's continue with the second vitamin that may be silently making your knees and possibly your hips more fragile than you ever expected. Vitamin A. Specifically, the synthetic form called retinol, which is commonly found in supplements and fortified foods. Now, vitamin A has long been celebrated as an essential nutrient. It plays a critical role in maintaining good vision, especially night vision. It supports healthy skin, helps your immune system fight off illness, and assists in cellular growth and repair. We need it. There's no debate about that. But as with many things in life, too much of a good thing can become a problem. And when it comes to synthetic vitamin A, the kind that's isolated and packed into pills, too much can turn into a real danger for your bones, especially the ones supporting your knees, hips, and lower back. Let me explain. Vitamin A is a fat-soluble vitamin. That means your body doesn't flush it out with water like it does with vitamin C or the B vitamins. Instead, it stores it in your liver, in your fat tissues, in your bones. So when you keep adding more and more of it day after day, year after year, it begins to accumulate. And over time, that buildup can become toxic. One of the lesser-known but well-documented effects of vitamin A toxicity is bone thinning. Researchers have found that people who consume high levels of retinol are at greater risk for osteoporosis, a condition where bones become porous, brittle, and more prone to breaking. And here's the tricky part. This bone thinning doesn't always show up right away. It's slow, silent. You don't feel it at first. You might still be walking just fine. But gradually, your knees begin to ache, especially when going up or down stairs. You notice your balance isn't quite as steady. A small twist or bump leads to more soreness than it used to. And in some cases, the pain becomes deep, almost like it's inside the bone itself. Let me tell you a story, one that still stays with me. James was 75 years old when he first came to my clinic. A retired engineer, sharp as a tack, loved fishing and reading. He wasn't overweight, didn't smoke, stayed fairly active. But he had a growing concern. His knees were starting to hurt. Not the sharp kind of pain from a torn ligament, but a dull, persistent ache that made walking around the grocery store feel like a chore. Now, James hadn't fallen. He hadn't changed his routine, so we started digging. His x-rays didn't show any major arthritis, but they did show something else. Low bone density, especially around his knees and hips. So I asked him about his diet. Pretty balanced. Then we got to his supplements. Every morning for the past 10 years, James had taken a teaspoon of cod liver oil just like his father did. He also took a daily multivitamin for men over 60 and an immune support chewable that listed retinol palmitate, a synthetic form of vitamin A right at the top. When I calculated the total vitamin A he was consuming each day, it added up to over 10,000 IU every single day for years. Now, that might not sound like much, but studies have shown that long-term intake above 5,000 IU of synthetic vitamin A can start affecting bone health, especially in older adults. And James, like many people his age, had a liver that didn't clear it as efficiently as it once did. The vitamin built up, quietly, until it began to erode the very structure that held him upright. We worked together to adjust his supplements. We swapped out the cod liver oil for a low retinol omega-3 option. We chose a multivitamin with beta-carotene, a plant-based form of vitamin A that the body can regulate more safely. And we gave his bones a little help with gentle resistance exercises and calcium-rich foods. 6 months later, James came back with a smile. The pain had eased. He was walking more, sleeping better, and most importantly, he felt in control again. His story isn't rare. In fact, it's more common than you might think. Because many people over 60 are unknowingly getting too much vitamin A without even realizing it. Here's why. Animal liver like beef or chicken liver is incredibly high in preformed vitamin A. A single serving can give you several days' worth. Cod liver oil, a classic supplement taken for generations, is also packed with retinol. Multivitamins, especially those labeled for seniors or immune support, often contain retinol acetate or retinol palmitate. Fortified foods like cereals, dairy products, or nutrition shakes can push your intake even higher. And unlike with water-soluble vitamins, your body doesn't just get rid of the extra, it holds on to it. And if your liver isn't clearing things out as quickly as is common with age, it builds up faster than you think. Here are a few warning signs that your vitamin A levels might be too high. Persistent joint pain, especially in your knees or hips, that doesn't improve with rest. Dry skin and brittle nails. Headaches or blurred vision. Unusual sensitivity to bright light. Bone pain or a feeling of pressure deep in the joints. Of course, these symptoms could come from many things, but if you're taking multiple supplements and eating fortified foods, it's worth checking. My advice? If you're over 60 and you're taking any supplement with retinol or cod liver oil, pause. Take a moment to look at the label. Add up how much vitamin A you're getting and consider whether it might be time to make a switch. The safer alternative is beta-carotene, the plant-based form of vitamin A. Your body only converts it into active vitamin A when it needs it, so there's no risk of overdose. You'll find it in carrots, sweet potatoes, spinach, and in many plant-based supplements. Remember, vitamins are tools. They're not magic. They should support your body, not stress it. So, if your knees have been talking to you lately, if your hips ache when you get out of bed, and if your supplement cabinet is full of good intentions, take a second look. You might find that one simple change could make all the difference in how you move, how you feel, and how you enjoy your years ahead. And next, I'll show you how to spot early signs of vitamin overload and how to protect your joints from the inside out. Because being proactive now can save you from much bigger problems later. Stay with me. How to recognize the signs and protect your joints from vitamin overload. So now that we've talked about the hidden risks of both niacin and synthetic vitamin A, let's take a moment to understand how to recognize the warning signs and what you can do to protect yourself. Because here's the truth. Most people don't know when they're getting too much of a vitamin. There's no red light flashing, no alarm sounding. The signs are often subtle at first, easy to brush off as just aging or a bad night's sleep. But your body is always speaking. The question is, are we listening? Let's start with vitamin B3, or niacin. When taken in high doses, one of the earliest signs is what we call a niacin flush. It's a warm, tingling sensation, usually in the face, neck, or chest. Your skin might turn red. It may feel itchy or uncomfortable. Some people describe it as a sudden wave of heat, like a sunburn from the inside out. Now, some supplement companies market this as a harmless side effect. And for many, it is. But the flush is also your body saying, "Hey, that's a lot." It's a signal that the dose may be more than your system can comfortably handle. Other signs of niacin overload show up in the joints. You may feel more stiffness in your knees, a heaviness in your legs, pain that lingers longer after walking, or a soreness that wakes you up at night. Some people feel it in their big toe, especially if uric acid is rising. That's the beginning of what could become a gout flare. Then there's vitamin A, especially in the synthetic forms like retinyl acetate or retinyl palmitate. Excess vitamin A tends to show itself more slowly, but it leaves clues if you know where to look. For example, you might notice your skin getting unusually dry. Your lips crack more often. You may feel bloated or constipated without changing your diet. Some people feel a deep, dull ache in their bones, especially in the hips or lower back. And perhaps the most overlooked sign, easy bruising. If small bumps leave big purple marks, or you bruise without remembering how, it could be a sign your capillaries and connective tissue are weakening. So what should you do if you're experiencing any of these symptoms? First and foremost, don't panic. Most of the time, these issues can be reversed once you remove the source. The human body is remarkably resilient, especially when given the chance to restore balance. Here's what I recommend to my own patients. 1. Never take high-dose vitamins long-term without medical guidance. Just because a little is good doesn't mean more is better. Vitamins are tools, not magic potions. Respect them. 2. Get a blood test if you've been taking supplements regularly. Especially if you've been on multivitamins, immune boosters, energy blends, or heart health formulas for more than a few months. Ask your doctor to check your vitamin A level, your uric acid, and liver function. These are simple tests, but they can tell you a lot. 3. Talk to your pharmacist or primary care doctor before adding anything new. Especially if you're already on medications. Supplements can interact, overlap, or double your dosage without you even realizing it. 4. Read the labels carefully. Check for the words niacin, niacinamide, retinol, or retinol. And remember, even if the dose looks small on one bottle, you might be getting more from other pills or fortified foods. And finally, let me leave you with this thought. Vitamins are not your enemy. But when used the wrong way or in the wrong amount, they can quietly damage the very thing we're trying to protect. Your ability to move, to walk, to live freely in your body. As a doctor, I've seen what happens when we treat supplements casually. And I've seen the joy on a patient's face when they realize the pain they've been living with didn't have to be permanent. You deserve to feel strong in your body. You deserve to move without fear. And it starts with treating your health not with panic but with knowledge, with intention, and with deep respect. Up next, I'll wrap up everything we've covered and share how one small shift today could change the way your knees feel tomorrow. Don't go anywhere. If you've been wondering why your knees hurt more now than they did just a few years ago, if every step feels heavier, every stair more daunting, if you've been doing everything right, eating well, taking your vitamins, staying active, but something still feels off, it may not be just age. It may not be wear and tear. It may be what's in your daily routine, those two quiet vitamins, niacin and synthetic vitamin A, doing more harm than good. Now, we're not here to fear vitamins. They're essential, they're powerful, and when used wisely, they can support you through every season of life. But they're not harmless, and they're not one size fits all, especially not after 60. Your body is different now. It's wiser, yes, but also more sensitive, more responsive to the things you feed it, both good and bad. And what I want for you is to move forward with clarity. To have the power to look at your supplement shelf and know exactly what's helping and what might be quietly holding you back. Because you deserve better than stiff knees and sleepless nights. You deserve to get out of bed without fear, to walk to the kitchen without bracing yourself, to take a stroll, carry your groceries, or dance with your grandchild without that dull ache reminding you of your age. And the good news is, it's possible. Sometimes, the biggest shift comes from the smallest change. So here's my gentle nudge to you, from one caring soul to another. Take a fresh look at your supplements. Read the labels. Ask questions. Have the conversation with your doctor. And remember, pain is not a punishment. It's just a signal, a message. And now you've heard it. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this video gave you a new perspective or helped connect a few dots you hadn't seen before, please share it with someone you love. And if you'd like more guidance, more warmth, more real answers for this season of life, I'd be honored to walk with you. Just hit the subscribe button, give this video a gentle thumbs up, and know that you are not alone. I'm Dr. Sarah Bennett, and I'll see you again soon. Until then, be kind to your knees. They carry your whole beautiful life.